Hey YouTubers, so guys, this is something I'm going to be doing on my channel from here on out. I actually really enjoyed doing the whole jigsaw breakdown thing for the trailer, and I want to just keep doing these things. Obviously, like, horror movies are just such a big part of my life. I used to be super afraid of them, but now I've been watching them for the better part of half my life, I guess, or at least half my life, more so than half my life at this point. I'm getting old. Anyway, guys, this is Insidious, The Last Key. Insidious Chapter 4 is what we all thought it would be called. This is a prequel to the original two films, but a sequel to the third film, I believe it is. Kind of glad that they kind of got rid of the whole chapter thing. It would start to get a little iffy and not necessarily make a whole lot of sense if your first two chapters are basically the end of your book, and then and then the next chapters are basically just like jump to the past and continue to jump to the past. One of the things I do want to say is, although I'm not necessarily sure how this is going to shake up, just from the look of this trailer, and I'll point it out here, it really looks like Spencer Locke's character, the girl who played Kmart in the Resident Evil films, if you guys remember that. But it looks like her. I believe that's her in the trailer. I could be completely wrong, and if I am, please correct me in the comment section below, but I won't dwell on it. I believe her character is actually Elise's character in their younger self, and I'm happy that they're going to do that. I'm not necessarily sure if she's the one who played her in Insidious Chapter 2. It's been a long time since I've actually seen that film. These aren't necessarily my favorite horror movies. I honestly believe, and I think I want everyone who's listening to this to go down to the comment section below and tell me which one do you like better out of the Blumhouse kind of wheelhouse of franchises. They have the Purge movies, and Insidious, and then Sinister, and then they're not making any more Sinister movies because the last one didn't really perform to the standards that they wanted it to, so that's really sad. I really like the Sinister movies, especially the first one's, in my opinion, is like a cult classic. It is stone cold awesome, like everything about it. And the second one is not very good, but at least all the characters are likable, which wasn't necessarily something you could say about the first one. But with that being said, guys, let's start in this, and I'm going to point out everything that I see here, and we're just going to walk through it. Like I said, probably not as long as my jigsaw one, but let's just start with it. Okay, house, there's that girl. Tell me if you think that she is. I looked on IMDb, and she doesn't have a name yet, so I do think that she is Elise's character as a young adult. That's what they were basically talking about throughout the trailer, but let's just keep going. Anybody want to guess that this is something that's going to be playing out throughout the movie, or something that's going to be playing out at the very beginning and this is our opening scare? I'm always kind of curious as to whether or not when horror movie trailers start, that's going to be our opening scare, or the very first thing they show us, because that's usually the big moneymaker shot, and it's not a huge spoiler since it's going to happen early on, and people probably won't feel like that's a major, oh, you ruined it, because it's not something that's really impactful to the story, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. Okay, so, you know what, I'm gonna get to my real thoughts and opinions about the way that they're handling the further, and what they're doing with this franchise as a whole, and why I feel like they've made some mistakes going forward with this. But honestly, that's not, like, honestly, these jump scares, the same thing they do with, almost the exact same thing they did with Sinister, almost the exact same thing they did with The Conjuring, whenever they get to, just the quick jump scare classic for most horror movies. But at the same time, it's like, I'm not necessarily sure about it. Now this is cool. If you haven't watched the trailer yet, I will put it in the link in the description section below. You have to go watch this. This is so awesome. The way that this is actually, I think, the most creative thing this franchise has done in a long time. If there's some indication of what this scene is going to mean for the rest of the, I guess, the franchise or the movie in general, the power of this demon, it's going to be really interesting. Isn't that cool? That's so cool. Oh man, like that, like, just use the key fingers to, I guess, essentially like turn people off or trap them or something. In fact, I think that's going to be a big part of what's going on. And probably, if she is Elise's character in the past, I could be completely wrong on that, guys. So I'm really trying not to hark on this, especially if I'm super wrong. But like I said, I looked it up on IMDb. There's no names for most people, so I don't know whether or not they're trying to keep this secret or not. I haven't been following this movie too much, but based on this trailer, I might get a little bit more excited for it, especially more than I was for Insidious 3. Universal's been killing it with horror movies recently. Blumhouse is just, man, just keep doing what you're doing.
People who need help with matters.
Okay, so I wanted to point this out. It says, welcome to 5 Keys, will unlock your heart. So, interesting. One of the things we see throughout this trailer, we don't get a real clear shot of it until later, is the key fingers that we just saw. There's actually 5 keys on that hand, and I don't know what this town has to do with that particular demon or whether it's just a huge coincidence. I'm hoping, since Lee Winnell wrote this script and when he's on his game, guys, he makes some really awesome content. I'm really hoping that he figured out a way to kind of take this particular demon or whatever it is, apparition, something that's been living in the further, and make it so it's affected this whole town, not just this house that they're going to be talking about. And I have some thoughts on the house, but let's get to that point.
That can't be explained. Come to me. These hauntings can be terrifying things. I should know.
Okay, so I have to say, Elise's character, I like her, and I feel like it was probably a really good idea that they decided to go with her as their protagonist, considering the fact that she is kind of the medium that's going throughout all these films. Focusing on her story probably was the best thing, especially since the family from chapter 1 and 2, their story's pretty much done. It was kind of more of an episodic thing than anything else. But at the same time, am I the only one who's a little disappointed that they decided to focus on her character and not just explore the further in general? I mean, I guess in one way it's kind of stupid, or it's kind of a smart idea actually that they're focusing on her, because they could just as easily focus on other people or other situations the same way they did with Sinister 2, and look how that turned out. Like I already said, they're not making another one like that, so who really knows? Honestly, we're just gonna have to wait and see. I think the one thing about this whole series, though, and the one thing this movie has to focus on a lot, is the further. We have to explore that more. It's a really interesting, kind of terrifying world, but you also run the risk of actually over exploring it and making it not as appealing as it once was, or scary as it once was. It becomes the mythology becomes too ingrained, and because we know so much about it, or the depth of it, then we don't necessarily feel frightened by it anymore. So they're walking a real fine line every single movie they do.
I've faced many evils in my life.
This is shot back to the first movie. Kid in the hospital bed, the Freddy Krueger looking thing. This scared me, guys. Back in the day, that scared me. I wasn't really expecting him to jump out like he did. And there were some really awesome shots that James Wan pulled off in the first 2 movies that really did well to make these movies a huge success, and the only real reason we actually have the 4th movie coming out. So yeah. Another shot, chapter 2, I believe, and I think this is chapter 3, but I could be wrong. Yeah, could
this
be.
This was different, though. The haunted house.
I want to make. Oh, sorry about that. I want to make something very clear. So she's talking about a haunted house. And like I said, I'm not necessarily too brushed up with all my knowledge of what the Insidious movies actually are, what the further is, what the overall overarching story is. I know they all connect. I know that the 3rd movie hamstrung her backstory in with the woman in black, even though the first 2 movies were kind of dealing with the fact that it was just kind of like a one-off demon presence that was haunting this kid from a very young age, and she helped out her mother. They didn't seem, at least in the first movie, like they were longtime friends or she had any kind of relationship with that apparition. But at the same time, the way they kind of shoved that plot thread into the 3rd film, I just honestly didn't like it. So I never even thought they would make a 4th film, let alone one that was focused completely on her. But like I said, I thought the whole concept is, in the Insidious movies, there's no haunted houses, there's haunted people. Maybe she's wrong, but why would she, the person throughout the whole series, who is told us, or at least is explained to the audience in multiple plot exposition points, that houses aren't haunted, it's people that are haunted, and this thing's called the Further. Why would she get messed up about that? I mean, yeah, she might be younger than she is in the first two movies, at least in this one. She's playing someone who's younger, but it's just weird to me. So if they're trying to play off that, and that she's the one who's actually haunted, and that's how this all comes back and kind of ties into the first two films, I'm fine with that. It's just weird to me.
Is my family's house.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, family house. Like, why? It seems to go against what they were doing in the first two films. And there we go. 5 keys. We got 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, 5 keys. For producer James Watt. See, what I think is going on is these are flashbacks from her as a younger child or a younger person dealing with this haunted house that she thinks is haunted, but might just be her is haunted. She's the one who's haunted. Or maybe when she was younger, like, this creature attacked her, and that's the reason she can go into the Further, or the reason that she has some kind of connection. And one of the things they're doing, because this takes place after the third film, after she kind of accepted that this is who she is and with the power that she has, she's going back to battle that entity that kind of introduced her to all of this in the very first place. Firstly, I think that's a really cool concept, but I'm not necessarily sure if they're going to pull it off. But let's go forward.
Find out what it is. We can stop this curse. To end this evil, I need to go deeper.
So this is interesting. You got, well, it looks like 4 keys here, but this next shot's interesting because one of the things we saw at the very beginning of the trailer is this demon or whatever it is has 5 keys for its fingers, and it can definitely put the keys inside you and lock you in, stop you from screaming or something else like that. But let's go to this one of the next shots, because I think it's really telling about what this film has to say and why Elise's character might actually be important to the entire series, why she might actually have this ability.
Into the Further.
Here we go. So I'm gonna play the last of this scene. I might actually go back to it, and I just want to kind of show you what I'm looking at right here. Well, at least what I think I'm looking at. I think that they are playing off something pretty cool here. So I think what this guy does is he takes, I guess, dead entities, the spirits that have been haunting people, the first 3 movies that we saw, and he's been, I guess, housing them in the Further, locking them away, maybe to build his own strength or something else like that. And now they're all, I don't know why they're all coming out right now, or why they're leading her somewhere, or even where they're leading her to. Maybe they're leading her to the girl, if that's not her. I mean, like I said, I don't want to hark on that too much. I could be completely wrong. I might be completely wrong. I don't know. Tell me in the comment section if I'm wrong. But I think one of the things that happened is, if this thing attacked her, this is the family house, this thing's probably in her family house, she's been face to face with it before. I think what it did with the keys is actually lock her into the Further when she was younger, and maybe gave her the powers that we've seen throughout the series. I think that would be pretty cool, facing your demons and facing what actually made you. So I think that that's probably what they're doing here, but who really knows?
The Further. I don't have memories from this place. I
don't really, like, these shots are way too quick. And like I said, this movie series has, I guess, somewhat of a structure, but I guess this is the first one in the whole series that's decided to do its own thing. So it's really hard to say, like, how it's going to connect, or even if it's going to connect, or how much we could speculate about any of these, trailer shots.
Scars. I I'm gonna find it, and I'm gonna finish it.
See, I could be wrong here, because I could be...
Find it, and I'm gonna finish.
I could be wrong here, because it might not be her, because we saw... Who knows? Like, maybe the little girl we saw...
This place.
See, I don't know. I can't get it. Okay, you guys see it. She's, oh, there we go. Maybe not be the right, I don't know who that is. I can't tell from just this blurred picture, but anyway, it's gonna be interesting. I can't wait to see how this all kind of plays out. It's always really interesting to see how, you know, they sell a movie and then it actually plays out. But
I have scars.
See that? If anything,
I'm gonna find it, and I'm gonna finish it.
let's see.
Please, there's someone right in front of you. I don't see anything. Be careful. You're going to touch it.
Oh. See, I mean, all movies do this, but this is something the Insidious movies just need to do, don't they? This type of like gotcha moment where you got like, man, he just looks like a mix between like Hills Have Eyes and the Nemesis from the Resident Evil movies. I don't even know. It's ridiculous. But they need to do that, you know, right behind you with the mouth open, scary looking demon thing. I mean, they did the same thing in I think the first two movies, so I don't know whether or not they need to do this anymore. But I think this is pretty much the end of it. Insidious, the last key. So guys, I'm gonna leave it at that. Tell me what you think about this trailer in the comment section below. I hope you did go and watch the trailer actually before you started watching my huge rant about it. I really am looking forward to this, probably more so than I was to Chapter 3 once I heard that that was a prequel that was basically focusing on the exact same story plot that we had seen in Chapter 2 and also Chapter 1. I was just like, come on, like, do we really need to be focusing on this again? The last one, Chapter 2, I don't think is that much better of a film than Chapter 1 is. I mean, honestly, I feel like it was pretty tired back then. This is really their chance to, I guess, reinterpret the franchise and build it even stronger going forward. In my opinion, it didn't need to be a sequel to the prequel. It probably needed to pick up where the Chapter 2 left off. Chapter 2 made a really bold decision by having her continue her paranormal activity, detective agency or whatever you want to call it, while being dead. And I think that would have been a little bit more unique than most other things that we see. I think by keeping her alive or going through great lengths to keep her alive, at least in the fourth film, you're kind of hurting that decisive ending from the first film and how they decided to deal with it in the second film and keep it going. And at the same time, you're not allowing the movies to move forward. We know that they can't die. You know that there can't be that much consequences for our main characters outside of the people who were literally just introduced in this very first film, if you continue to go with the prequel sequel route. And although I'm sure that there's enough material to allow her to do multiple different films while she's technically alive and before the first movie, I think that's going to get old really quickly. So guys, with that being said, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell over by the subscriber button, and tell me in the comment section below if you're excited for Insidious: The Last Key. I'm gonna actually go with that. I hope everyone has a good day. It's been real.